When the Houston Rockets' up-and-coming star and prime candidate for the Most Improved Player of the Year award, Apheren Sengun, went down with an ankle injury after colliding with the Kings center Domantas Sabonis, this occurring at a point in time when the Rockets were struggling to maintain any kind of consistency in an up-and-down year and were more or less out of the play-in race, with the gap between them and the 10th seed being so large. And with Sengun going down, a player you could argue is their best player, at least their current leading scorer, the thought was the slim chance of the Rockets making a run of the playoffs were all but dashed away, and we would be seeing yet another lottery season for the young rebuilding team. But surprisingly enough, the Rockets would go on to win that game against the Kings when Sengun sprayed his ankle late in the fourth quarter, and they have yet to lose a game since. And suddenly the Rockets have found themselves right in the mix of the play-in race, with just one game separating themselves and the Warriors from the last play-in spot at the time of this recording. In my last video, I had talked about how the Warriors are undoubtedly going to miss the playoffs, but that was more in reference to the fact that they wouldn't be able to make it out of the play-in, and how I thought it was very unlikely they would fall out of play-in contention. Now that's become a serious reality for the Warriors with how they've been underperforming and just how well the Rockets have been showing up. Houston has been firing on all cylinders, and it could not come at a better time in finishing out the season. There's just one big problem for this franchise as it relates to their future going beyond this season, and it might be a problem the Rockets least expected until it presented itself. What is that exactly? Well, let's talk about it. First, a real quick from today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. If you guys like making predictions on player stats and props, and you like winning money, a little bit of money on the side, and even getting free money when you sign up, then you're going to want to hear about this offer from Underdog Fantasy. My personal favorite that I use on the app is NBA Pick'ems. You can choose higher or lower on most player stats for any game. Just pick higher or lower on a given stat for their upcoming game, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night if you do 5 Pick'ems and you get them all right. And guys, they're offering viewers of this channel an exclusive offer. If you use the promo code AND1HOOPS, all one word, you'll get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Who doesn't want free money? It's really that easy. Also, it's a great way to support the channel. I'll leave a link to the site and the code in the description and pinned comment if you're interested. Alperen Sengun's quick rise in the NBA has been one of the more surprising success stories in the league for a player who was a highly touted prospect and one of the best international prospects of his class, playing professional basketball since he was just 16 years of age in Turkey. But as dominant as Sengun was playing for the Basketball Super League and winning the MVP in 2021, a lot of teams would still end up passing on the big man in the 2021 draft, when Sengun fell all the way out of the lottery, being selected 16th overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder, who would then trade him the day after the draft to the Rockets for 2 future first-round picks, both of which did not convey for the Thunder. And while Sengun had a solid rookie season on a bad Rockets team, displaying a lot of poise and confidence as a 19-year-old going up against some of the best big men on the planet, it wasn't until his sophomore year did we really get to see the potential and versatility of Sengun and how good he could be as a building block for the future of this Rockets team. So good, in fact, that he was starting to look like a more well-rounded, higher IQ player than their top prospect they drafted number 2 overall in the same draft class in Jalen Green. And that became even more apparent this season in both of these players' third seasons in the NBA, when Sengun was playing like a borderline all-star and top center in the NBA at the age of 21, while Jalen Green struggled with his overall consistency, his efficiency, and overall decision-making on the court, having not improved his overall shooting since his rookie year, turning the ball over at a high rate and not having as great of an impact on winning compared to that of Sengun, with Green having one of the worst on-off numbers on the team. Alperen Sengun was rising with his improved offense and efficiency in the paint, while also becoming one of the better rebounders in the game of basketball, but also possessing the court vision and being an offensive hub for the Rockets, averaging over 5 assists per game. Sengun, doing all of this at 21, went from being a player the Rockets could build with to now building around as a potential future franchise player. A player most had thought would be Jalen Green, who was one of the most highly touted prospects of his class, number 2 overall recruit in 2020, only behind Cade Cunningham. But something changed dramatically for this team after Alperen Sengun went down. And while it's still a relatively small sample size and there are a lot of factors that could explain the reason for the Rockets' sudden success, Jalen Green has been unlocked and making the most of this opportunity and being the Rockets' number 1 scoring option again, and the 22-year-old is playing some of his best basketball and looking like the future generational talent a lot of scouts had hoped he would be. Jalen Green, since Alperen Sengun went down with the ankle injury, has been putting up 29.3 points per game, 5th in the entire NBA during that span, but not only scoring near 30 points per game, but doing so on insane efficiency, shooting 53% from the field and a ridiculous 45.3% from behind the arc at over 9 attempts per game from 3, a stark contrast for a player who was shooting a career worst 32% from 3 for the season and 42% overall from the floor. Not only that, we've also seen an uptick in Green's rebounding, improved passing and decision making, reduction in turnovers, and believe it or not, he's even playing better defense. Still not a great defender, but his effort on that end of the floor has been noticeable. You want to talk about impacting winning? Well, the Rockets' net rating since Sengun went down is the second best in the league, only behind the Boston Celtics. A team that had the 21st offensive rating on the season has had the second highest offensive rating in that time frame, also again only behind the Boston Celtics. Now, the Rockets' defensive rating has dropped a bit, but when their offense has been absolutely on fire, it hasn't really mattered much. They are simply outscoring their opponents at will, no matter who is in their path, and it's in large part thanks to the much improved play of Jalen Green. But why is this happening? Why the sudden shift in improved offense from the Rockets that we weren't seeing before? And yes, it's very possible the Rockets are simply just finding their stride late in the season and would have done so whether Sengun got injured or not. There are a few eye-popping things about the way the Rockets have been playing though without him, both from the numbers and by the eye test. The Rockets, simply put, have been playing a much faster, up-tempo, high ball movement style of offense that we weren't seeing as much before. The Rockets have the third highest pace in the league since Sengun's injury at 100.64, whereas they were 15th in pace on the season at over 1 possession lower. They went from being one of the worst passing teams in the league in the bottom 5 of the NBA to now being in the top 10. Their overall floor spacing has been significantly better as they've been able to generate more open looks from 3 with a higher degree of ball movement on the perimeter. They're getting more threes up and they're shooting it at a much better clip at near 39% and posting the best true shooting percentage in the league in the month of March. What's also noticeable is that the Rockets, while their defense has taken a bit of a hit on the interior, their perimeter defense has actually improved on the whole. What's also noticeable is that the Rockets, while their defense has taken a bit of a hit on the interior, their perimeter defense has actually improved on the whole. They're giving up fewer threes to their opponent, the fewest open looks from downtown, and allowing them to shoot 33%, which is the lowest in the league. The Rockets have improved so many aspects of their game, and it's no wonder they're currently on the longest winning streak in the league and poised for a spot in the play-in. So the question you might be wondering, if it wasn't clear already, what's the problem then if this team is playing some of their best basketball at just the right time? And for all of you Sengun stans, some of which have probably already clicked out of the video, no, Sengun is not the problem. Sengun being out of the lineup is not the reason the Rockets have had recent success. Apheren Sengun is a phenomenal talent, with extreme upside, having not even come close to hitting his prime yet, and the Rockets absolutely hit on a gem in making that trade with the Thunder the day after they drafted him. The problem is, it's also possible Jalen Green and Sengun might not be the best fit on the same roster. You see, Jalen Green thrives in an environment with the ball moving fast with better floor spacing and one in which he's able to control the ball rather than operating in a catch and shoot type system. I also firmly believe it's an ego thing. Jalen needs to feel like he's the primary scoring option, the team's go-to guy down the stretch, and that ego has taken a bit of a hit with the rise of Sengun, a player from his same draft class. The other factor to consider here is both of these players are extension eligible this offseason, and both guys are going to be expecting to get paid. And while the Rockets do have a fair amount of cap flexibility both for next season and beyond, the max contract for which they gave Fred VanVleet and the sizable deal for Dillon Brooks, paying both of those guys big money while also considering extensions for guys like Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson, and even Ken Whitmore down the line, might not be sustainable. While it's a problem, it's a good problem to have if you're the Rockets, because you can either look to trade one of Sengun or Green when their value is at its peak to even further bolster your roster and put better complementary pieces around the other skill sets, or, and likely the most practical option because I don't see the Rockets trading either of these guys, you adjust the offense to ensure both players thrive in what suits their skills. This team can now see what works. The question is, will they be able to sustain that over time? Time will tell, as Sengun is expected to return before the end of the season. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.